My friend, whatever position you're in right now, whatever dissatisfaction or discomfort you may be going through, there is a way out of it. Anything that's cluttering your mind right now, the enemy wants your mind to be cluttered because maybe it's blocking you from a place, a position, an opportunity that is more in harmony and in line with where you're supposed to be. Hi guys, my name is Lauren Maluhi and welcome back to another episode of In Harmony, giving you lights and encouragement to pursue the incredible life that God has for you. Yes, you, the one watching this video, the one listening to this podcast. I assure you, my friend, you are not ordinary, but extraordinary. And the reason is because you come from an extraordinary God. Our extraordinary God does not make mistakes, and he does not make ordinary things. Therefore, the good news is no matter what you may be going through in your life, no matter what security may be festering in you or you've been battling for years, rest assured that you are extraordinary. And I hope, and my desire and intention with this podcast is to bring that out of you and to constantly remind you, because we all need that reminder now and then. But enough of that, because today we're talking about a very important and kind of a fun topic, which is taking time off to achieve clarity. Taking time off is a little different from rest. I know we've spoken about rest before. Rest is super important. On the seventh day, God rested, and we should all rest. But even more than that, it's important for us to not just rest, but actually take time off and remove ourselves from any crazy circumstance we may be in. Let me explain. Maybe you have a stressful job. Maybe you have a stressful life in terms of with your family or at home. Maybe you're in a tumultuous and stressful relationship. When our mind is constantly cluttered with grocery list items that we have to buy, all the passwords for all of our accounts on our laptop, all of these problems that we're having in our relationship, when our mind is constantly cluttered, we don't give God the space to speak into our life. We don't give him the space to hear from him, because the truth is that you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. God doesn't expect you to. But the super cool thing that we can do is we can declutter our mind and make space so that we can hear from him on the right thing to do in our lives. One of the best examples of this is actually in a very popular Broadway show that you are probably very familiar with, and that is...
Sir, I'm Alexander Hamilton. I'm at your service, sir. I have been looking for you.
The show Hamilton, created by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Many people are familiar with this popular show, but what a lot of people are not familiar with is where the idea of Hamilton started. And it actually started when Lin-Manuel was on a vacation in Mexico. That's right. He had been working on another show called In the Heights for nearly 7 years. But when he finished that project, he actually took himself on a trip to Mexico. And he was at a resort when he was reading a biography about Alexander Hamilton. And sure enough, once he separated himself from his crazy work life, and once he was on vacation and was truly relaxing, that's when the idea of Hamilton walked into his mind. But don't take my word for it. In Lin-Manuel Miranda's words, he says, "It's no accident that the best idea I've ever had in my life, perhaps maybe the best one I'll ever have in my life, came to me on vacation. When I picked up Ron Cherno's biography of Alexander Hamilton, I was at a resort in Mexico on my first vacation from In the Heights, which I had been working on for 7 years to bring to Broadway. The moment my brain got a moment's rest, Hamilton walked into it." And the really cool thing is that science actually supports this. Science shows that doing nothing now and then is required to replenish motivation and attention. It's also required for maximum creativity. In short, your cluttered mind is a happiness and creativity killer. Even Steve Jobs and Einstein claimed that just putting around and doing nothing was actually an essential step in their creative process. So what is cluttering your mind at the moment? What do you feel overwhelmed with? Maybe it's your job, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a relationship that you're in, maybe it's uncertainty about what to do next in your life, maybe you're balancing anxiety. These are all normal things that you shouldn't be ashamed of. But a lot of times when we're around people who have different ideas about what we should be doing, how we should be living our life, what the next step is for us to take, it's really hard for us to hear our own voice, but even more important, it's difficult for us to hear God's voice, because sometimes, most of the time, we don't have all of the answers. But when our mind is constantly cluttered, we're literally blocking off the communication pathway for God to speak into our lives. What are you currently struggling with in your life? Really, think about it. Maybe your life is going great, but maybe there's an area that you still have uncertainty in. Maybe you're in a romantic relationship right now and you love this person, but you're not sure if you want to spend the rest of your life with them or if you want to start a family with them. Maybe you're in a job right now that you don't necessarily hate, but you don't necessarily love, and you're wondering, God, should I stay here? Should I apply for that next promotion? Or should I go and venture out on something I've always wanted to do altogether? You don't have to have all of the answers, but you need to give God the space to speak to you about what to do next. A great and maybe corny example of this that came to my mind when I heard Lin-Manuel's story is a similar story that I heard from this girl that I've been following since I was a young girl named Adrienne Houghton. She was, I'm sure you all are familiar with her. She was a former cheetah girl, and she's actually married to the famous Christian gospel singer Israel Houghton. But before she was with Israel, she was actually engaged to another man years before her engagement with Israel Houghton. And on her previous YouTube channel, she has this really cool video where she talks about a solo trip that she took to Paris. She says that she was having a lot of uncertainty about her engagement, and she just wanted to get away to spend some time with herself and take the space to really come to terms with if she wanted to continue with her engagement. So off she went to Paris, France, and she talks about that she listened to the music she wanted to listen to, watched the movies she wanted to watch, did the things she wanted to do, cried a little bit, let it all out. And she said that that trip was one of the best experiences of her life. And the crazy thing is after that solo trip she took with herself, she actually decided to call off the engagement because she realized that that partner wasn't the right one for her. Sometimes when we're in a relationship or a comfortable place in our life, we don't want to exert the energy to get out of it because we're comfortable, but we're also not super satisfied with where we're at. And we're always thinking in the back of our mind, is there something out there? Is there a better opportunity for me out there? But when you're around people who are influencing you, all of us have the ability to be susceptible to that influence. You may be listening to music that you don't even like, but the people, your friends are listening to it, so that's the music you listen to. You may be doing an occupation that you don't even like, but maybe your family wants you to do that, and that's why you're staying there and pursuing that degree and that position. That's normal, but it's not until we remove ourselves from the place that we're at for us to really hear not just our thoughts, but God's thoughts and guidance about where we should go next. Isaiah 58 verse 11 in the New International Version says, "The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail." My friend, whatever position you're in right now, whatever dissatisfaction or discomfort you may be going through, there is a way out of it. Anything that's cluttering your mind right now, the enemy wants your mind to be cluttered because maybe it's blocking you from a place, a position, an opportunity that is more in harmony and in line with where you're supposed to be. And I keep saying this because it's the truth. You don't have to have all of the answers. You are only human. You are not God, and God doesn't expect you to. But the really cool superpower you have is that you have the ability to clear the clutter from your mind, spend time with God, spend time alone, and get clarity on what your next move should be. So as we wrap up, I want you to really think this week, what is an activity or a thing you like to do that really helps clear your mind? Maybe it's dancing, maybe it's singing, maybe it's going to a pottery class, maybe it's cooking, maybe it's even just going for a 20-minute walk with no earbuds in your ear, just you, your thoughts, your heart, your spirit. Maybe it's even just something as simple as taking a shower without listening to music or a podcast. In order for us to practice mindfulness and achieve clarity in our lives, we don't have to take a super big, crazy trip to Paris, France, which if you're able to do that, that's awesome and you totally should, but don't feel like that's the only way to declutter your mind. You can do little things throughout your day and have more clarity about what the next step in your life should be. Even Jesus did this. In Luke 5, verse 16, it says, "But he would withdraw to desolate places and pray." Even Jesus Christ, the most perfect human being that's ever walked this planet, needed to remove himself from his inner circle, from his very close friends, in order to achieve clarity and just be one-on-one with God. My challenge for you this week is to try incorporating those little mindfulness practices throughout your busy work-life schedule. And even something as simple as saying the Our Father before going to bed, that's about a 20 to 30 second prayer, but there's just something about getting on your knees, saying that prayer, and just speaking to God from your heart in order to achieve even just some clarity in your life. You don't have to dedicate hours to prayer, which if you want to, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But God even gives us a very simple prayer we could pray to him every single day in order to have a relationship with him. It doesn't have to be an hour-long prayer. So in conclusion, what mindfulness practices can you put into your life today? And what is something that you love to do that puts a smile on your face, that makes you feel relaxed, and that can help you achieve more clarity in your life? And the thing is, if let's say you start to incorporate these things, or even if you do take a trip to Paris, France, like Adrian did, if you don't have all of the answers to your life immediately, that's okay. God speaks to us little by little, bit by bit. He doesn't give it to us all at once, which sometimes he does. And if that's your case, that's awesome. But don't be discouraged if you don't have all of the answers. But if we dedicate and we make the commitment to give him this time, he's going to reveal little by little the next steps that we should take in our life. In short, God reveals purpose bit by bit. In Jeremiah 33, verse 3 in the Message translation, it says, "Call to me and I will answer you. I'll tell you marvelous and wondrous things that you can never figure out on your own." My friend, you do not need to figure it out all on your own. That's why we have a Lord and Savior. And the last quick tip for today is I would recommend to you, and it's something I started to do, is to incorporate even a prayer journal in your life. They sell them on Amazon. They're super cheap, but if you want to know a really good one, perhaps the best one of my good friends, Samantha Potter, actually has a prayer journal. Boom. She's not focusing. Oh, she is a little bit now. It's a beautiful, beautiful prayer book. I think it's under $10. And she actually writes little prayers that you can do in terms like praying for your future spouse, your future family, praying for the right job position in your life. And you can literally take the time to write down what your thoughts and prayers are. And there's just something beautiful about spending even 5 minutes just listening to your own voice and writing your thoughts down. So I'm going to also put this in the description link so that you guys can check it out. It might very well be the next step you need to take to achieve clarity in your life. So that's it for today. If you guys do any of these practices, or if there's something that you're struggling with, please send me a direct message. I would love to pray for you, and I would love to be with you on this journey to support you so that we can make sure that your prayers are answered and that you have more clarity in your life. This is In Harmony. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Even in the darkest times, you give me hope. So